Hey everybody, Hurricane Hal here, live coverage of Hurricane Idalia's landfall and sudden storm surge here in Steinhatchee, Florida. Boy, the water came rushing in. So when we came out here about 2 hours ago, the winds were blowing from left to right. They were pushing the river water offshore with large waves. That all changed. We had a moment where the water got conflicted. You could see large waves pushing downriver, and then the dome of water, the storm surge, started pushing in. And now we have the storm surge really on the move, flooding houses. And y'all, look, I don't know if you can see it. I cannot zoom in for, oh yeah, now I can zoom in. The river is just, it's a raging river, y'all. We've seen ships going down it. The marina down here, I want to tell you a story here of what happened. The marina up ahead here literally broke loose with boats docking and everything with it. And it started slamming into the back part of a large house. And so keep in mind, you may be in a surge zone and you may say, hey, I'm going to be above the water. If you're exposed to open water, you could actually have a ship in your living room. You could have a marina break off and the docking crash into your house. We could smell fuel oil. There was a lot of fuel oil that spilled, so that could help spread fires or just have a lot of contamination. There's a lot that can happen if you're in a surge zone. It can happen really quickly. And again, the water's flowing really fast. You can see out here, I mean, look at this, the water's flowing really quickly. Out in the river, it's flowing a lot faster than nearby. We've just seen a lot of things flowing around out there. We've seen some wind damage. We've seen, we've seen some metal roofs peeling off and things like that. But the big story is just how quickly the surge came in here. When the wind changed direction, the water started flowing in like a raging river, and it can really trap you. I mean, we have a lot of folks that may be in a home and think they have time to get to safety, and they don't. And then you even have people out here, scientists and storm chasers, documenting the storm, and you can get trapped if you're not considering your pinch points and everything. You really have to consider where the water's flowing to and where you're at relative to that. Y'all, you're looking at live coverage here of Hurricane Idalia. This is a pretty good vantage point here of the surge. You can see it's flowing in. It's not just water rising vertically. So landfall has happened to our west. I haven't checked the NHC advisory. It looked like it was going to make landfall with maybe 130 or 135 mile-an-hour winds. That'd be a Cat 4 hurricane. The wind field was pretty small on Idalia. I don't know. I might be here 25, 30 miles east of landfall, and I think we barely had hurricane force winds. We definitely had hurricane force gusts. But again, our concern here in Steinhatchee was with the surge. I mean, you can see a stop sign there just barely out of the storm surge. I expect that we're going to have water pushing in here for several more hours. There are a lot of low-lying houses down here, a lot of camps and summer homes and people's residence too. And the water's getting up high. We see an elevated house out there. An hour and a half ago, the water wasn't anywhere near it. Now it's going up that bottom enclosed floor. Wanted to talk a little bit about small hurricanes. So small hurricanes have the ability to really ramp up quickly. If you have warm ocean water, low wind shear, and a moist environment, they can go from a Cat 1 to a Cat 4 pretty quickly. These are also the hurricanes that weaken really quickly as well if you have a lot of wind shear or things like that. So with Idalia, conditions got better and better, and it really strengthened right up to landfall. So again, a smaller hurricane like that can ramp up. The really good news for places like Steinhatchee, where I'm located, and other parts here along the coast, is that the wind field was pretty small, so it was pushing a lot less water than a large wind field. And also, it's just moving so fast. I saw in the morning advisory, it was moving to the north-northeast. I know the forward motion was 18 miles an hour. That's a very fast-moving hurricane. More typical along the Gulf Coast, we'd see a forward motion of, maybe 10 to 12 miles an hour. And so the fast forward motion, we're seeing water flowing in here, and we're going to have surge flowing in for several hours. But if this was a large, slow-moving hurricane, we'd be looking at a water flow like this for maybe 8, 10, 12 hours. We think about Hurricane Ike back in Galveston and Bolivar. I mean, they had an onshore wind and water flowing in for more than a day, and that was a big problem. Yo, I can actually see your comments now. I'm filming this from a vehicle. I'm in Steinhatchee, Florida. We're taking, I think we have sustained winds, I don't know, maybe in the 60s with higher gusts. I mean, things are blowing around. We've seen a few trees down, but mostly what I'm filming right now is the storm surge on the Steinhatchee River. And if you look out farther there in the river, I mean, it is flowing fast. We saw, it wasn't that long ago that the marina here actually tore off. This whole marina here, the whole docking structure and everything tore off. It came across and hit the back part of that house over there. So it reminded me, and we had docking floating down the street. We had ships floating out in the river that got torn from their moorings. So, you know, pretty interesting situation here. I have access to a hill behind me and a secured structure. So I feel really safe. I can get to higher ground. That house I'm showing you across the street there's actually a woman riding out the storm there. So again, the storm surge is still going up. We've seen people in low houses riding out the storm. There's someone just down the road on the river side of the road in an RV. They were there last night. And, you know, from many conversations I had with people last night, I got the feeling that people had made up their mind. They weren't really looking for my opinion. And a lot of people said it's really not going to be that bad. They've never flooded before. Well, now we're seeing, you know, they've also never had a major hurricane making landfall just to the west of them on the coast. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm in the Big Bend part of Florida. Now, if you have family or friends over in, say, Tampa or areas at Naples, Fort Myers, we know those areas like Fort Myers and Naples were really hit hard by Ian last year. In general, I think they had a saltwater rise. They had some banding and some heavy squalls last night. And in that, sometimes you'll find the occasional tornado. I think in general, the impacts, from what I've seen to Tampa, St. Pete, were probably really, in general, minor impacts. But again, in some of those squallings, you can get some strong winds. And I think they were expecting storm surge down there of about 4 to 6 feet. I have not been in Metro Tampa, St. Pete for the storm. I've been here in Steinhatchee, documenting it here really to document the peak surge. Hey, Patty, thanks for your comment there. Yeah, Steinhatchee is a special town. Be able to talk a little bit about this town. A lot of retirees, a lot of people have relocated here. And, you know, it's a place where people come to go fishing. It's a place where people are doing clams and oysters and scallops. A lot of scalloping. You can see that in the signs around town. Now the winds are picking up, and we might get some banding here of some stronger winds. You can see some spray, some saltwater spray coming off the river there.